Hello and welcome to the Real Women, Real Purpose talk show live in the On Purpose Woman magazine and global community Facebook page. I'm Ginny Robertson, one of the hosts of the Real Women, Real Purpose talk show, where we talk about real women who are living their lives on purpose and bringing their unique gifts to the planet. I'm also the founder and publisher of On Purpose Woman magazine and founder of the On Purpose Woman global community. My guest today is senior advocate and author Jacklyn Ryan, and we'll be talking about how to protect your loved ones, hire a caregiver, not a Scaretaker. Jackie will share steps we can take to qualify a caregiver and how to look for subtle signs that one may be unscrupulous, unethical, or immoral. Jackie, thanks so much for being with me today.
Thank you for the opportunity, Jenny.
I'm excited to dive into this topic because it's a really important conversation. But first, I want to tell our viewers a little bit about you. Jacklyn Ryan was, like many of you, a working woman who purposely uprooted her life to move and be closer to her aging parents. As her parents needed help, Jackie hired what she thought were reputable caregivers. Her parents were divorced and she used a different agency for her mom and dad. She had a bad experience with both, and she began to connect with other adult children who had experienced dishonesty, unethical behavior, and fraud. This inspired Jackie to write her book, Caregivers ScareTakers, Exposing Fraud in Senior Care. Jackie will share resources and tips for hiring and managing your caregiver, as well as subtle hints that may expose a dishonest caregiver. So Jackie, so much to unpack here, but I'd like to start with what was going on with your parents. You obviously moved there because you knew they needed help.
Yes.
But what was going on with them that you decided, okay, it's time to hire a caregiver?
Well, I was in a crisis. My dad lives in eye view of where I live. I built my house on property of the family. So he's that close to me. I built my house. I was that close to him. But when he fell and broke his hip, I, got him to the hospital. He went to rehab, got him home. We got to have a caregiving agency to arrange to start taking care of him because he was probably like 82 at the time or so. And so he fell and broke his right hip. So we got a caregiving agency involved. Just somebody I was referred to.
Okay.
The one and only.
And they're divorced. So your mom's living, where's your mom living? Is she
close
by
by? She
as
was
well?
living like 20 miles away.
Okay.
And she was
didn't
fine.
need help yet.
She came into play, so to speak. I mean, my dad had caregiving for 7 years. And my mom had caregiving for 6 months under hospice care.
Okay.
So 2 different circumstances, same time later in life. Yeah.
So you faced a lot of challenges.
Yes.
Or you wouldn't have written this book. So tell us just some of the challenges that you faced just to start.
Well, okay. So initially I was just referred to a caregiving agency, home care agency. I said, yeah, okay. And so we filled out the paperwork. My dad set up the paying account through his secretary he had at an office. I just arranged for it to all happen. And it seemed like everything's going fine for a while. Actually, it wasn't going fine, Jenny. And the first 6 weeks, we have people show up late, don't show up, things like this. This was through a caregiving agency. Long story short, so finally, when I say a lady Claire showed up 6 weeks or so later, she showed up. 2, she showed up on time. 3, she was engaging with my dad, and she was very communicative with me. So my mistake, I felt like I made a new best friend.
Because it was perfect, right? Perfect.
It was perfect.
Yeah.
I was so excited. We were excited. The family was excited. My dad liked her. We liked her. We're good. Until about 4 months later, there was a $900 tire receipt that I found. $900. And so I called a family meeting. We had a family meeting. And it was a mistake. It was just a loan and they'll never do it again. And our mistake, Jenny, is that we did not contact the agency. We did not, because we liked her. And we just said, hey, if you need some money, you need some help, come talk to us direct and let's work it out. And we're not going to get you fired contacting the agency. Big mistake, because, it was just a mistake. But she got away with it. And so then more to come. And I didn't realize that until a couple of years later. And let me tell you, how comfortable does a caregiver have to feel to tell you, the daughter, oh, she's been in jail for meth before?
I guess this is a few months or years down the road, or
Yes, this was about 4 years down the
wow.
road. And I brought it to the agency's attention and they showed me her record. And this is a long story short, but we started her with one agency. That agency was having an accounting embezzling problem. So we moved her from the first agency to a second agency, not knowing her background. And the second agency said, well, we kind of inherited her.
Wow.
And so basically they didn't want to lose this $200,000 a year account, Jenny. It's private pay. My dad was wealthy and 24/7 care plus time and a half plus holidays. It's over 200,000 a year. It's not 3,000 or 4,000 a month.
Right. Yeah. And so I imagine that you beat yourself up a lot thinking you should have known differently, right?
How would I know differently?
I know. That's what I'm wondering, if you actually went through that where,
I
you know.
did. But, on the flip side, it's like, who's more guilty? And I approached this, it's like, I was learning a lot of discrepancies about her from other good quality caregivers. And as I say, how do you build oneself up? You put the others down. She would throw the other caregivers under the bus to make herself look better, feel better. She would go on fishing trips with my dad, something they wanted to do. That's fine. He'd pay for it. He'd pay for her family's dinner as well, out there where her family was, like 2 hours away from here. He paid for her grandkids' summer camps. He paid off her mortgage of about $20,000.
Were you aware of this at the time?
I
Or?
was not.
Yeah.
His money, his business, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And another
And he
part
was
of
of sound mind, right? You think, or
that, well, that's the
but
part of
even people of sound mind can be swayed and can be
manipulated.
manipulated. And he probably thought of her as a family member at this point.
Oh, he thought of her more than a family member,
Oh,
Jenny,
okay.
because he was widowed.
Ah, he was
Hmm.
lonely and,
Even maybe sex was in the
oh
picture.
dear. Okay. Wow. Wow.
How can any family member fight sex?
Yeah, really. So he wouldn't be able to listen to his
No, he wasn't going to
reason.
listen to
Yeah.
anybody because he's who he is and she's made him who he is and she's going to treat him special. And man, I just love my dad, and I was the POA for his health care, but she convinced him later after I found $300 of grocery receipts within about 2 weeks time. And I took pictures of these grocery receipts. And this was the year 6, 1 year before he passed. And I sent these pictures of grocery receipts to her. I said, do you think you have enough groceries now for the next 2 or 3 weeks? No response from her. But within that 30 days, she had convinced my dad I was going to send him to the nursing home. I was after his money. And she had him pick up the phone, call his attorney, remove me as his POA.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
So he was never deemed with dementia. He
Right.
should have been. And I couldn't do that even when I had the POA, because if I was going to want to go get him tested for dementia, she would put something else in his mind against me. And this was what was going on.
Okay. So this got away from you, and you had siblings as well. And I'm thinking, because you were desperate, you were desperate, and sometimes it's just easier to go along and think, well, he's happy. He's happy.
Yep.
Which,
He was happy, so to speak.
Wow.
He was happy. And my brothers, hey, right? Just let's turn a blind eye. It's just better to leave it alone because he's happy. It doesn't matter in the big picture of things. It doesn't matter. Well, it really does, because what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. And this was so wrong on all levels, and nothing I could do about it. And that was part of what you're pertaining to, Jenny, is, am I guilty because of so many things I was learning about? So I'd let my brothers know, no, we'd rather just leave it alone.
It can be so overwhelming. I can only imagine how overwhelming that would be and how distressing it would be.
Oh.
Well, what have you learned? I mean, you wrote a whole book on this, so that wasn't the only thing that happened.
True.
Your mother also had a caregiver at some point.
Yes.
Did you have issues there as well, or?
The first week, are you kidding me? So I hire a different agency who pays their employees more. And that's something to think, okay, are they employees or contract laborers?
Mm,
Let's delve into this. And this is the reason why, Jenny, because these agencies, overall, they can make anywhere from $21 to $40 an hour. I'm told in Florida it might be $40 an hour, $20 to $40 an hour. They pay their workers, contract laborers, no benefits, $10 to $12, $13 an hour. Who wants to work nowadays for $10 to $13 an hour, sitting with an old person and watching TV all day and working on puzzles? Oh, they could be texting and on their phone while my dad trips and falls on a rug there
mm.
and had a black eye and stitches. And yes, I did call the DHS and they did nothing because my dad said, yeah, he's okay. So,
And when people are being paid that amount of money, I mean, that works hard, can be hard work too. A lot of it's not just sitting.
that
It's,
is true.
it's having to dress and bathe and,
Yes, and bathe. And
yeah.
so, yes, and we can touch on that because, yes, the good caregivers, as well as the not good caregivers, they will work on dressing and shaving and taking him to go to breakfast or someplace where he's buying them breakfast as well and buying them the groceries as well and everything. But yes, to get them in and out of the shower and, to have a conversation some. But my dad was never diagnosed with dementia, but he had dementia. His mother had it. His sister had it. He was hard of hearing, and he would call his best friend a different name sometimes. And so, yes, he had dementia, but he was never diagnosed. So therefore he was competent. See?
Yeah, he was not making good decisions,
No,
obviously. So
no. And to answer your other question, with my mother, I hired a different agency. And the first week, the lady would show up late or she'd leave early. And I dare say she left, I'll say it pleasantly, gastric explosions in the toilet the first night. And my mom is at home dying, released from the hospital for hospice. She was at home for 6 months and I had to be there. And so the first week when I have a caregiving agency and the woman shows up, and then I've got to clean out the toilet the first night. And then the second night, it's even worse, where I've got to call a plumber. So I had her immediately fired. I'm not going to wait for anything else to happen. I'm going to be very proactive. And I opened up the medicine cabinet. It's partially open. And mom's Oxycontin medication was missing. How do I know? Because she took the pills out of the bottle and left the bottle empty there in the cabinet. And so I tell the agency about this. They would not do anything unless I filed a police report, which I finally did. And the woman came back 45 days later and signed a written confession that she stole my mom's narcotics.
wow. So did you ever have, I mean, it sounds like this one woman was with your dad for quite a long time.
Yes.
And your mother only had a short period of time that she needed a caregiver.
Yes.
Were there any that worked? And if so, why do you think it worked?
My dad had a very good one. She was very quiet. She would not talk a lot. She would not talk and yak a lot. She was not very engaging, but she was very good. She was very kind. She was very careful with him. She was afraid that she was just afraid to death that he would fall on her watch. And so, long story short, she called my dad. Big mistake. You're supposed to call the agency if you cannot come in. Don't call the client direct. She called my dad direct. He couldn't understand her. My dad turned the phone over to the Scaretaker and blah, blah, and hung up and said, I don't know why you want her anyway. She's drunk. She never does you any good. The house is always a mess and everything. And it's my dad to have her fired. My dad fired one of the best caregivers he ever had. And 6 months later, this woman was not sent someplace else. She was fired from the agency.
Oh, man.
And she died 6 months later. She was 51 years old, probably from depression and back pain medication. I don't know, but she died. And she was one of my dad's best caregivers. There was one other lady that was very good. And again, she was wrongly fired by the same agency because of the bad mouthing from the other Scaretaker. And she was wrongly fired as well. And she could not get unemployment because it was told that she accepted money from my dad. Nothing like the other woman. Yeah.
Wow. And so Can I assume then from some of the things you've said so far that in looking for a caregiver, it's much more important that somebody be kind and competent rather than the best friend of the person they're taking care of?
Absolutely.
Don't have to be all familiar and up in their business and all of that, right? Some,
That
some
was
boundaries are good, it sounds like.
that was the problem. There were no boundaries.
Mhm.
And yes, this one particular Scaretaker was up in my dad's business every which way of getting free calves. We were on a farm, and oh, the calf lost its mother, or the calf, whatever, and she'd have her cousin come take a calf. Okay. Or work in the cow lots with us, where that's outside of her scope of work. And it was a mess. So to go on from whether it's my dad's story, my mom's story, I'm in real estate for my career. And I started talking about these problems, and I started encountering all these other people that were encountering some of the same problems with their parents and agencies also, Jenny.
You thought, let me make something good out of this really terrible situation. And let's hear a few ways that that a person would begin to look for a caregiver then that would maybe not ensure necessarily, because you never be 100% sure, but at least they're on the right track,
Right.
aren't going to make some of the mistakes that maybe other people have made.
Well, I mean, think about it. It's in a crisis mode. All of a sudden, your dad breaks his hip, or your dad's had a heart attack, or your mom's got cancer. What are you going to do? Don't wait for a crisis to happen. Start looking at these home care agencies. I had worked with 3 total. Well, did you have any good experience? I mean, what am I supposed to be doing? Interviewing 10 to get 1?
Right.
My dad broke his hip. I would just assume I'm going to get a home care agency. They're going to vet their people and have the best people to come out. That is wrong. So what I would recommend doing, not 3, maybe call 5. The more you call, the better. You're going to have a better understanding how these people work and what's going on, how much they pay their people. Are they contract laborers, or are they employees? Do they get any benefits being an employee instead of a contract laborer? Will the owners or the administrator come out maybe once a quarter to check on their client? Can you go to their office to meet the people they think they're going to be sending out to your loved one's home? Your loved one's home. Let me tell you, being in real estate, I have been fingerprinted and background checked in the states of Texas and Arkansas. I don't even have to be in your house. If I sell a piece of your dirt outside someplace, I have been fingerprinted and background checked. The caregivers it's state by state. The caregivers in the state of Arkansas are not fingerprinted, and they might not be background checked.
Wow.
They are not fingerprinted. Now, in some states, they may be fingerprinted. And I'm going to tell you about a program by the FBI. It's called the FBI Rat Back Program. It's instituted in the state of Texas, Missouri, Oklahoma is getting it. Utah has it. Florida has it. It's an ongoing real-time background check. So it's not like, oh, okay. Like, for instance, if a caregiver was in Vegas and got picked up with meth, they were thrown in jail, they get bailed out. Okay, they go back to work. Their employer doesn't know. But FBI Rat Back would then notify the Arkansas State Police, which would notify the employer.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Like that. Not when they're doing a background check a year later or something.
Right.
So that's very important. And I am trying to work with some of my House and Senate state legislators to get these laws on our books in the state of Arkansas to protect our vulnerable, whether it is children, daycare, same thing, daycare, teen facilities, or senior care. Who are these people taking care of our loved ones? And basically, we have monetized our social care system from the cradle to the grave, haven't we? Because we're busy out here working.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said before, the corporations are the ones really raking in the money, and the people working there are often working for barely above minimum wage, right?
Absolutely.
And I think one of the most important things you've said so far, you said a lot of really important things, but don't wait till there's a crisis. If you've got elderly parents, you're going to have a need, probably more than likely at some point, for at least a short-term caregiver.
Yes.
Start making those calls now.
Exactly.
Yeah. And get references from other people that have used
Yes,
those people now,
references.
because you don't have that. You don't have that luxury. You just need, a warm body's going to have to do for a
A
bit.
warm body has to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. This business, there's over 450,000 home care businesses in the state of in the United States right now.
Wow.
It's an increase of 5% from 2021. And think about it, Jen, because nobody wants to send their loved one to a nursing home or even a retirement home in case there's a shutdown. So
Mhm.
everybody wants to stay home more,
Yeah.
which becomes isolated more too.
Mhm.
And, there was no efforts. And this is something, what are you going to do to get my loved one out of the house? What are you going to do to keep his mind active?
Mhm.
What are you going to do to keep him socialized? And, those questions I never thought about before.
Yeah. Because you were just looking at, what are you going to do to keep him from hurting himself more?
Exactly.
Feeding him, making sure he eats. And yeah.
Yeah.
With a broken hip, you're like a baby. You don't do anything on your own.
All of a sudden.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, let's talk about, once somebody has some options in place, or even have hired somebody, let's say they've hired somebody, what are the ongoing things they should be looking at to make sure, not that it's just a good fit, because there's a couple of different things going on here. You want it to be a good fit for the person, for your father, your mother. You want them to be at least good enough. They don't have to love everybody, right? But good enough and comfortable. And you want it to be a good fit for the person who's coming. And you want to make sure that they're doing what they say they'll do and not doing things that they shouldn't be doing. How do you know? Are there any ways you can, I don't want to say catch people, but
Well, yeah, there is a way.
nanny cams and stuff? I don't know.
Well, and that too, you can let somebody know, yes, you have cameras in the house, or yes, we have recordings in the house. And that was the thing. It was, your loved one's home. The loved one has to be aware that there is recordings going on in their home.
Right.
But I tell you, I won a jackpot at Elks Club one night or something. And so I felt a little free with my money. So I offered Claire, here, take an extra $40, because I wanted to help her out.
Mhm.
And she gladly accepted it and thanked me for it. She should have said, I cannot accept your money. But
Oh, really? That goes against the policies of most of the companies?
It does.
Well, that makes sense, because otherwise things like what your father was doing
Yes.
wouldn't happen.
Let's touch on that a second, because the elderly people, they feel like they're tossed away, that nobody wants them, nobody loves them. They feel like that we love him. He's my dad. I'm not going to worship him. I just love him, but I'm who I am. He's who he is, and everything like that. But people want to feel needed, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So how do they feel needed? Oh, well, my car broke down. I had a little car trouble, and that's why I showed up late today. Well, how much was that? Oh, I had to get a new tire. It was $50. Well, here, let me help you out.
Yeah.
And then they can start feeling important and needed. Well, oh, you need a little money for this, or you need a little money for that, because then they're starting to feel, the elder person is feeling important then. Not important that you raise your kids to be self-sufficient and I don't need your money, but oh, somebody needs your money. So now they're going to be a lot nicer to you so they can get that money.
Yeah.
And that's
It's really in that vulnerable place too. And I would imagine, just given the age, people in their 80s and 90s and upwards, men are also going to feel the need to be that more than women, because women of that age,
we're just,
I'm only 10 years from that 80 thing, but women of an 80 in their 80s and 90s have not been conditioned to give in that way. They've been conditioned to care give in a different way, to, like with whatever. But men, write a check, give them a credit card, feel good about yourself. And I imagine that in a time when he was feeling less than, because he can't do what he used to do, and it doesn't matter how great his kids are, whether they love him or any of that, it's that he wants this instant thing right now. That's what's here, right?
That's right. How can I feel better? Let me help her out.
Feel better. That's an amazing point.
Another clue is to look at the credit card receipts if you're allowed to. One of my friends who is a CNA in the state of Florida, she became a CNA and a caregiver after she saw what's going on with her lady friend down there in Florida, because the caregiver would go get groceries and then take a little longer to come back. Well, what was going on is she would go get groceries for her woman and then use this same credit card to go get her own groceries, drop them off at her house, and then go back to her client's house. Yeah.
So there has to be some things set up, and parents or anybody that you're responsible for are not going to like that in a lot of cases,
They
because
don't like it.
their autonomy kind of
You
stripped.
know, I guess part of it is, I am 60 now. And if I had, which I don't have children, but if I had approached my dad and say, well, I'm working on an estate and planning when I'm going to be 60 or 70, and this is what I want to have in place. What have you done? Don't put it on them directly, but I'm being proactive and to try to take care of my kids in the future. Are you set up? Have you done everything financially that you need to do to protect your assets and protect yourself in the future? You can't be questioning your parents. It is their money. It is their business. But how do you have a conversation with them about safeguarding them?
Yeah, it's such a great point, because it's hard enough to have any conversations like that when you're the kid. You're still the kid.
You're still the kid.
We didn't have to have caregivers for my parents, but I'm so grateful that, my sister actually I shouldn't say that. She and her husband stepped in to take care of my dad so he could stay at home. And then my mom was just sick and went to the hospital and didn't come back out.
Yes.
But yet just having that conversation about, Dad, you can't drive anymore. All those conversations are really tough ones, but this has such ramifications.
It does. It did. I mean, I'm still paying for it in a way now. My dad passed in September, whatever. And some of the financial ramifications, it's just, I'm at his house where he had been and cleaning. These people are supposed to be cleaning. Are you kidding me? Light housekeeping. Okay, for an example, this is so minute, but look at the refrigerator guard underneath your refrigerator. Because it's got to breathe the appliances and it gets grody into there. And I took a picture and I did a boost on my Facebook, Caregiver ScareTakers. And somebody says, that's not light housekeeping, that's a job. And I said, well, yes, it is a job when it's not been wiped down in 7 years. It's a job, just take a wet rag and wipe the refrigerator grill underneath the refrigerator there where it's got to breathe and take all this mess in. So it just pops off. It's not even screwed on there typically. So, and the fry baby, and just think that my dad was eating and out of this nasty stuff, because now I've been seeing and cleaning in nasty toasters. It's just nasty. And I'd go down there and they're on their phone or they're watching a Western with them or something. And they weren't, maybe they'd vacuum or do the dishes and go to town to have a breakfast or buy some lunch or something on his money. Yeah. So, but outside of my parents, and I'm sorry to get back, but there was a couple of cases down in Texas, some people that I knew. And during the COVID time, and this one caregiver came in to take care of her dad. Her mother had dementia, and then her dad got COVID from the caregiver, and the caregiver convinced him to basically shut off his family and got him to the hospital when he was about too late from the COVID. Finally got him out and stuff, but he had shut his family off.
Wow.
And even his brother that he would always talk football with and stuff, until this daughter got a hold of her dad and kind of just, they changed doctors. That was it. They changed back to his doctor because this caregiver had taken him to a different hospital with a different doctor and everything, gotten out of the system and stuff. But it just happens like this because you don't know what these caregivers are telling your loved one. You don't know what the conversations are. And I'm saying that because if they're very proactive or they're a professional con, they're talking all the time, and they're talking about their problems and their life and their business. And none of that is supposed to be in a conversation with your loved one. You know, the conversation with your loved one is about them and what they want to do today. And if your dog or if your cat died yesterday, you don't need to be taking my dad's cremation box to bury your cat's ashes in.
Oh, geez. That's one for the books right there.
Ah.
Wow. Well, what's the hope here? What's the good news? Is there any good news?
Well, the hope is, just to really do your homework when you're interviewing agencies. And there's websites, there's companies out there today that you can look up. You can find them through my book, Caregiver ScareTakers. There's resources where you don't have to hire an agency. And it's about like the way of the travel agent. I dare almost say the way of the real estate agent. Bypass the agent, go directly to the source. Because through one of these websites, I found a wonderful woman, hired her direct for this elderly man because his wife's got Parkinson's. And we offered $15 an hour. She's a CNA. I checked her background out and did a background check on her. She knew that was going to happen. I called her references that she gave me. And she's a wonderful woman. Bypass the agencies and hire direct. We're mature enough to use our discernment of who's going to work and who's not going to work. Yes, you've got to hire them. Yes, you've got to fire them if it doesn't work out. You've got to be careful. You're not going to meet them at some place. I mean, everybody's got things going on. Be smart about how you're going to interview people, where you're going to meet them at, and ask the questions over the phone before you meet them. And then you can, whether you go to their house to see how and where they live, or invite them over after a few conversations with the senior person to see how that relationship might work out. So the solution, my book offers solutions in the back. There's extensive interview questions.
Okay.
And this is the thing about your state to state. Look at your state laws, because this is what I'm diligently trying to work on with our legislators here, is to get fingerprinting and background checks. And if these people cannot pass fingerprinting and background checks to go into your loved one's home, to sit there every day with whatever is in their house, maybe they're looking for something else. Sticky fingers, instead of just being there. One lady who worked in a retirement place, she says, Jackie, you just can't teach people to care. They've got to care. Yeah. And that's a big thing. And I think, Ginny, that when you're talking to somebody, you're going to be able to see if they really, hopefully you can see if, are they true? Are they really care? Do they really care? And, I'm learning a lot. It's like, if the lady's got Parkinson's, she's seeing people in her house, what would you do? Would you say, oh, those aren't real, you're just seeing things? Or would you go along with her and say, well, okay, so here's this man and here's this little girl and here's their wife and everything. And what is the answer? Well, really the correct answer, what I've learned, is go along with that person. Because does it really matter if there's people in the house or not to them? It's more important to them for you to acknowledge them, that, oh yes, I see Mr. Tim over here and I see Gloria over there. Okay, yeah, okay, that's fine. It's fine. Just go along with them. You don't have to correct a person who's got dementia or Parkinson's, because then there's aggravation, there's irritation, and that's not good.
So kindness and patience.
Yes, a lot of kindness and patience. Like. I couldn't be a caregiver. That's why I'm working more so toward the legalities of it. But I right? Yes.
Well, Jackie, you've mentioned your book. So hold up your book. I know I see it on the shelf behind you, and tell us how they can purchase your book. And it's got a lot more in it than what we've talked about today.
So let me explain the book. It's got a hand like coming out of the shadows, and really it's the caregiver's hand that pulls the strings, manipulates the loved one that causes a broken heart, isolates the loved one from family and friends. That happened with my father. And money goes out the window. So Caregivers ScareTakers. You can go to my website, CareGivers ScareTakers.com. You can find it,
Is
of
it
course, on
caregivers, scaretakers, no hyphen or anything, just all one big word, caregivers, scaretakers,
yes,
just like the book,
CareGivers
.com.
ScareTakers.com.
Okay.
The S is interchangeable because caregivers and caretakers are interchangeable.
Mhm.
Yes.
So is it one S or two?
Thank you for asking. It really is one S.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when you're going to Google it, let's say caregiver space caretakers, and you'll find it that way.
Yes, I found it that way.
Thank
Okay.
you. Yes. So, but the website is one singular S. I envisioned about having it go back and forth because it's just interchangeable. And, you know, it's a big business. The employment of home health is projected to grow 33% in the next 10 years, faster than the other organizations out
All the
here.
baby boomers, all the aging.
All the baby
Yeah.
boomers, there's 77,000, I'm sorry, 77 million baby boomers. 10,000 of us are aging, turning 65 a day. 4,000 people a day are turning 85 years old. I mean, what are
4 million, right?
4,000 people a day are turning 85 years old.
4,000 a day. Wow.
4,000 a day. And I mean, okay, call me selfish. Who's going to look after me when I'm 80 years old?
Right.
Who's going to look after me? Who's going to look after any of my friends? Hopefully I'll find some golden girls and we'll just age together well like that. But I'm not going to have an agency, and I'm going to pay somebody very well
Mhm.
to take care of me. And I will hire them and I will fire them.
Or you'll have somebody in charge who will do your bidding, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's very important for our wholeness and mentality from here on, Jenny. You know that.
I so get that. Before we wrap this up, is there anything that you want to either reiterate that's really important or something we haven't touched on that you just want to, briefly say to our viewers?
I just say raising the bar on caregivers will raise the bar on the quality of care.
Mhm.
Yes, they need to be paid $15 an hour. The question, why are you wanting to be in this business making $10 or $12 an hour instead of at McDonald's or Walmart making $15 an hour plus benefits? Why are you here?
Mhm.
That's a very good question. Then you will find out, and you'll look at them and see if they really care. And they're okay making that because they really care and that they don't want a high stressful job and not be on their feet all day. And that's okay then.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you, Jackie, for spending time with me, for sharing your knowledge with our viewers, and for doing such important work. I'm sure you've saved some other people some grief and some money and some
Yes,
sleepless nights and just everything that you had to go through to get here. So thanks again for being with us today.
Thank you for your time, Jenny.
And thank all of you for joining us for the Real Women, Real Purpose Talk Show live in the On Purpose Women magazine and Global Community Facebook page. If you love this interview and want to share it with your friends, you can do it right here on this page, but you can also go to our YouTube channel in the next 48 hours. So go over to the On Purpose Women Global Community on YouTube, subscribe and sign up for notifications. There are over 120 inspiring, informative, and some fun shows for you to watch on our channel. And in May, we started sharing videos of the speakers at our On Purpose Women Global Community Zoom gatherings. This is our last show for August. We have 5 great topics lined up for you in September, and we'll probably add some more by the time the September-October issue of On Purpose Women magazine is published on September 1st. You can always find out what's coming up on the Real Women, Real Purpose Talk Show by going to my website, opwgc.com, and clicking on the On Purpose Woman magazine. Look for the spread in the table of contents. And while you're there, check out the On Purpose Woman Global Community. Thank you again for watching the Real Women, Real Purpose Talk Show.